ISRO is at the cusp of a major historic achievement. Docking in space has been a challenging task for several countries, and the Indian Space Agency is all set for this experiment, the SpaDeX experiment that will take place, and it is crucial for several other missions that ISRO is planning, whether it's the Chandrayaan-4, the human space flight program, or having its own space station. And SpaDeX means it will ensure that two spacecraft can successfully dock in space, and that will have a huge impact on ISRO's future programs. And it has been designed, and it's designed in Bengaluru, the URA Satellite Center here. And to talk about this, I have with me Mr. M Sankaran, the director of the center. Sir, thank you for talking to us. Just for a layman, what is docking in space and why is it so essential?
Docking basically is making two independent objects come together and join together and behave as if they are a single object. And it is important for various reasons, but most important reason is if you want to have a crewed flight to moon or any other planet, without the docking technology, it is not possible to achieve those missions. Even when the Saturn V launch vehicle, which had a capacity of 150 tons to the low Earth orbit, they could not do it without doing a docking. So docking is essential for any crewed flight to moon or Mars or anywhere else beyond the low Earth orbit. If any crewed flight has to happen, it is essential. But for us, India, it is even more important because we do not want to spend like Saturn V vehicle was developed with the sole express purpose of going to moon with a human being and coming back. What is the use of that vehicle after that mission? Nobody has any use. That vehicle was retired after the Apollo flights. So India is not going to spend money for something, for one mission or two missions. We are not going to spend money to develop a very high capacity rocket because we will not have any use of such a rocket for anything else. So ISRO has taken a conscious view that we have to develop a rocket which will be useful for our regular space activities, and how to use that vehicle and still achieve the crewed flight to moon. So that is how our mission plannings have been done. So the docking will enable, even though our launch vehicle is having a capacity maybe half or one third of a vehicle like Saturn, by having this docking capability, we can achieve what was achieved by Saturn V those days, or today the Starship what is being planned. Both can be achieved by ISRO with a smaller launch vehicle by adopting the docking technology in space. That is why for ISRO docking is very crucial.
So explain what happens once the takeoff happens, the launch happens. What happens, what is the timeline that we are looking at, sir?
So in this demonstration mission, we are going to put two satellites into orbit, to the same orbit by the PSLV C-60 rocket. But at the time of separation of the two satellites, the launch vehicle give a little, maybe 1 meter per second or half a meter per second extra velocity to one of the satellite. So over a period of the day, that satellite which is having that additional velocity will accumulate a inter-satellite distance between these two. So we will allow this distance between the two satellites, which are still in the same orbit, to grow up to say about 10 to 20 kilometers.
Okay.
Then you give a relative velocity to one of the satellites so that we make both satellites go at the same velocity. So the distance between the two satellites no longer increases, but they will remain constant and they continue to go like a pair together. The strategy is you increase the relative velocity, you can increase the distance. You decrease the relative velocity, you can decrease the distance. So we will do the opposite in the next few maneuvers, that we will give the velocity such that the distance between the two satellites progressively keep reduces say we are at 20 kilometers, we will bring it down to 5 kilometer, 1.5 kilometer, 500 meters, 10 meters, 3 meters, and finally allow it to dock. This is the approach. So the whole activity is expected to happen within about 10-15 days from the time of launch.
Okay. You spoke about a crewed mission to moon or other planets, and why docking is very important for that. Perhaps the immediate focus would be Chandrayaan 4, a sample return mission. You would need space docking. Perhaps again for a human space flight or even setting up the India space station, this would be very crucial, sir.
Yes, the Chandrayaan 4 also has been designed such that docking is an essential technology available for that. So, though SpaDeX was conceived more than a decade ago, SpaDeX is going to feed into the actual realization of Chandrayaan 4. So, by this demonstration, we are going to gain confidence on doing this for Chandrayaan 4. Chandrayaan 4, the docking will happen in a different kind of orbit, whereas the first demonstration SpaDeX is going to happen in a low Earth orbit. Towards this, we have developed a number of sensors and the algorithms and software and procedures of how to do this. These are all will get validated during this mission. Subsequently, we will upgrade them to suit the requirements of Chandrayaan 4. And when our Bharatiya Antariksh Station is up in orbit, so the different modules need to be launched independently, and they have to dock to become a large space station. Yes. And similarly, the crew going and coming back, or the supplies to the crew to the Bharatiya Antariksh Station and coming back, all of them require a craft going and docking to the base, that is the Bharatiya Antariksh Station, transfer crew or transfer cargo. So this is an essential requirement for all these missions.
Probably I can call it one of the initial steps for all of these experiments or these missions.
Definitely, this is a mission enabler for many of these future missions.
True. So apart from obviously the docking experiment, there are multiple payloads. There are also, I believe, radiation equipment as well. What are those, sir? What are we looking at?
See, there are 3 payloads in the what is called as the target spacecraft. There are 2 payloads, and in the chaser spacecraft 1 payload is there. This, when we conceived this mission in around 2015 time frame, very novel payloads. These are miniature realization of the remote sensing payloads. Even today what we are using, how the same outcome can be realized in a smaller payload. So there is a high resolution camera which will give very high resolution. In a small form factor, it is going to give about 4-meter resolution images from space. Similarly, we have a hyperspectral camera, similar kind of application. Instead of visible images, it is going to give image of the same scene in multiple frequency bands, so that lot of other not obviously visible information can be drawn from that. We have already hyperspectral images in space, but this will be a miniature one. So that is the novelty. Third one is the radiation monitor payload. It is also going to monitor the amount of radiation, that is particulate radiation, electron, proton, this kind of particulate radiation, and their effect on electronics. This is going to, this payload is going to give information about that, because when we are going to have crewed flight in space, yes, radiation is one of a major problem for the astronauts. Yes. And also the upsets or degradation of the semiconductor components due to radiation is one of the most important problems any spacecraft faces. So this radiation monitor is going to give us some more information about these 2 aspects.
So as I mentioned at the beginning of this interview, this was designed and in a way built at this center. Were there any challenges, sir, or whether things?
The most challenging is that we had to do it in a very small scale, both in terms of money and physical size, because we cannot spend so much, say 1,000 crore, 2,000 crore money we cannot spend. This entire mission is achieved within a cost of about 125 crores plus the launch vehicle cost. the challenge is that when you are doing a docking with two very small spacecraft, the inertia of the spacecraft is very small. A very small disturbance to the satellite will make the satellite move away. For example, if I have to push this, I can move it easily.
Yeah.
With the same force, I cannot move this.
Yes.
That is the inertia's contribution. This has low inertia, low mass, low inertia. A small force will disturb it.
Yes.
Whereas same force cannot disturb this. We are, in addition to docking as a technology development, we have additional problem of trying to do this with a very low inertia systems. Whereas when we develop a Chandrayaan or a Bharatiya Antariksh Station model, they are all going to be heavy, 10 ton,
Yes.
15 ton like that. Whereas this is a 200 kilogram
I'm
satellite.
guessing gaining precision is that much more difficult.
Yes. So if our understanding is, if we do this successfully, that will be a cakewalk.
Yes. And finally, sir, what does it mean for India's space program? Because as I mentioned, only 3 countries have managed to do it successfully. What is the message that will go across? What does it mean for India's entire space journey from here on?
I do not know what others will think, but the success of Chandrayaan 3 has made people to turn back and look at ISRO and India with renewed interest. So this is one more such achievement which we hope we will achieve shortly, and I am sure that the ability of India and Indians will be once more demonstrated to the whole world.
Absolutely, sir. And 2025 looks like an interesting time for ISRO